and welcome to the Big Happy Life podcast. I'm Natalie Britt, and I can't believe it's episode 50. Thank you so much for listening. In this episode, I want to share with you a little bit about the thought process behind Big Happy Life. If you've been listening regularly, you'll notice that I've started talking to more guests and I've started kind of broadening the scope of the kinds of things we talk about. So I thought it might be useful to kind of get a sense of why that is and where I'm going with it. So the thought process behind Big Happy Life has always been that for many of us, we build these big lives and then it's quite difficult to enjoy them because we just end up with loads of stuff pulling on us in ways that make us feel like we're being pulled apart. So Big Happy Life was about saying, okay, well, let's not pull ourselves apart. Let's create a stable structure. And the inspiration came from actually an adoption training course. It was the very first training course we attended as prospective adopters. I remember the trainer doing this exercise with us where she got this woman to stand, she asked for a volunteer and she got this woman to stand in the center of the room. And then she asked for another volunteer and she got this woman to stand at the edge of the room. And then she tied the two of them together with a piece of string. So the one in the center of the room, she said, you're the adopted child. And to the other one, she said, you are the birth mom. Then she got another volunteer and she said to him, you're the birth dad. And she tied string around him and then tied him to the woman in the center. And then she went all the way around. She added more and more people. So we had adoptive mom, another adoptive mom. We had a social worker for the family. We had a social worker for the kid. We had a judge. We had siblings. We had foster carers. Grandparents, basically everyone else in the training course ended up tied to this woman who was in the center. So we all formed a circle around her. And then the trainer said to us all on the outside, pull. And so we pulled on these strings and this woman at the center buckled. She was like, oh! And it was such a powerful exercise because what she wanted to show us was all the different things that pull on our children that we can't always see. We think, well, we take them home and we nurture them and we care for them and we love them and we keep them safe. But psychologically, all of those pulls and all of those stories remain. And we have to be aware of that. We have to understand how those things pull on the child because they will affect the child's behavior and they will affect the child's experience of life and the world. And it was years later that I started thinking, actually, that's true for all of us. Whether or not we've experienced trauma, all of us carry with us all of these pulls, psychologically because of our history and the stories that we tell ourselves, but then also in our lives, the things that we give our time to, the things that we feel are necessary, the goals we want to achieve, everything, all of it, it's all there, all around us. And so Big Happy Life started as my exploration of, what's in that big jumble and what needs to be there, what doesn't need to be there, and how strong am I at the center of it. And it's gradually kind of become something that's about not just me, but all of you as well. All of the people who have these big lives, but feel like they're being pulled apart rather than like they're being held together. Like all of this stuff gives life meaning and purpose and value and joy. Instead, it can often just feel like a whole load of stressful crap that is pulling on you. So Big Happy Life is about saying, okay, well, let's take a look. Like what's in your big circle? What are all the things that you are tied to? And then from there, what has to happen at the center for you to feel strong enough to handle it all? But after that, if you're strong and you can handle it all, do you even need to? And are there better ways to do things? Are there better ways to manage relationships so they don't feel quite so pulling? They actually feel rewarding and supportive and loving and nurturing. What does it take in that exchange so that the relationships feel that way? Same with finances. What has to happen for them not to be so stressful? What has to happen with your spending habits? What has to happen with your saving habits? What has to happen with the stories you tell yourself? All of those things come into play. And so Big Happy Life, as it progresses, certainly within the podcast, we still keep the 3 goals that we've been working towards. that feeling of being in control of your life. And that's all about knowing what's in that big circle for you. What are you at the center of? And how do you manage yourself in such a way that you feel like you can manage it all, like you can be in control of your experience of your life. The second goal is about weathering the tough stuff, because no matter how much you take control of, there will always be things outside your control. And actually, the majority of things are outside our control, to be fair. So the second part is all about weathering the tough stuff. So anything in that circle could play up at any point, and different circumstances will arise throughout life. What does it take to be at the center of your wheel and be able to weather those things when they happen? So those are the other things that we're talking about. And then the last part of that is about being a great role model for your kids. So the kind of coaching that I do tends to be with adoptive parents, particularly after the first 6 months of the placement, largely because a lot of our ability to do the work, the therapeutic parenting work that is required of an adoptive parent, we have to be in the kind of headspace that allows us to do that really well. And so the work that I do is about getting that headspace. But the role model part comes in being able to show your children that it is possible to overcome stress and challenges and setbacks and all the things that get thrown at us all the time. And particularly for adoptive parents, we have to be able to show our children that, because they, in many cases, have early life experiences that they need to work through in very particular and deep ways. And so if they are going to be able to weather that type of work and to do that type of work in such a way that they come out the other side feeling strong and feeling safe and feeling empowered in themselves and worthy, one of the best things we can do for them is to show them how to do that by doing that work for ourselves as well. And so that's the kind of thing that you can expect as we go forward within the Big Happy Life podcast. I have amazing guests lined up, some of them who'll be talking about us at the center of our wheels, and some of them who'll be talking about all the different things that potentially could be in any of those wheels. So finances, relationships, career, all the different things that might be in your goal set or might be in your life situation right now that you want to pay attention to and you want to do better with. And so what I would invite you to do as you listen to this podcast, as always, is to comment or to ask questions. Let me know who you want to hear from. Let me know what kind of advice you're looking for. What sort of experts do you want to hear from? And those are the people that we can get on the podcast and ask your questions to, so that we can gather information, we can make ourselves stronger, we can build our lives into the kind of life that feels like something we can be at the center of and have that be a really good thing. So I look forward to another 2 or 3 years of putting out podcasts with you, and hopefully more after that. And I look forward to hearing from you with your comments and questions. As always, you can do that on bighappylife.co.uk. You can also visit the Facebook page. You'll find that at Big Happy Life page. And you can find me on Instagram, big_happy_life. All the links are below in the video, and you can also find them on the show notes page for this episode on the website, bighappylife.co.uk. But for now, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.